My degree is in art education, so I should be able to help you out. There's just like a million things I could talk about. And lastly, my favorite tool, a fork. Hi everyone, my name is Gunnar and welcome to my ceramic studio. It looks like a mess right now. Today I wanted to take a moment and we're just going to go over how to get started in pottery. So I've talked quite heavily about my own background in pottery throughout past videos, but I've never really talked to you guys about how you can get started in pottery yourself if you've done it just a little bit, or if you've never done it before, or if you do it a decent amount but still don't know where you should be starting. There's obviously a lot of steps that come with doing pottery, so it's not the most accessible art medium to do, but at the same time, it's more accessible than you may think as well. I definitely should have made an outline of this video before I started. One of the main questions I keep getting is, where do I buy clay? I actually buy clay from Continental Clay. This is a Minnesota and Colorado clay company. So if you do live near Minnesota or Colorado, you can go pick this up in person, or you can actually buy it online as well. I do not know the shipping cost though, so look into that before you hit the confirm purchase button. But at the same time, I think it's fairly affordable. They sell by 25-pound bags, and they sell a couple different kinds of clay as well. I think just white and red, and then lots more like intricate clay bodies. I always just start with low fire white or low fire red clay. I think those are really easy places to start from, and it's not as demanding to get a kiln that's to a super high temperature. The bags are not expensive at all, so they're 25 pounds per bag, and I think they're like $18 max a bag, which I find to be super easy to spend. I mean, I buy probably about 500 pounds at a time when I go buy, so that obviously gets kind of expensive, but at the same time, like, I make use out of that clay. Like, it will be worth my money. If you're just looking to make small things like mugs, you don't need more than the 25 to 50 pounds. If you're someone like me who likes to make bigger things like this, then you're gonna want to buy the 500 pounds. But when you're just starting out, this is about how to get started in pottery, you do not need a lot of clay. So yeah, just buy one bag or two of the 25 to 50 pounds and you'll be fine. We're gonna talk in a second about kiln firings and things like that, but if you do think there's never gonna be an option for you to have a kiln in your life, or to be by anyone that has a kiln, you can get air dry clay. It works pretty much the exact same as your other clay bodies are going to work, except obviously it's going to dry by just sitting out in the air. The thing with these is they're not food or liquid safe, so you shouldn't be eating off them or putting any liquids in it. So that's why ceramics, like the normal clay bodies, are much more preferred, because you can actually do a lot more uses with it. We're going to talk about kiln firings. This is probably the trickiest part about this hobby, is finding access to a kiln. I'm super fortunate and I have a small kiln at my parents' place that I can use. So I got this after graduating from college and I just tuck it away in the corner. Usually it uses an insane amount of amps for voltage, and not everyone's going to be able to support this at every house. So I'm fortunate enough where we have this huge shed that my family works in, and I can just have an area in the corner that's reserved just for me and my stuff. But at the same time, if you don't have any access to having a kiln at your house, or you don't think you ever will, also if you're just starting out, you shouldn't go buy a kiln. Let's be real. What I'm trying to say is you should be looking online for ceramic studios. So sometimes I have a studio that's actually in my hometown recently. We have a few more that are popping up nearby, but at the same time, like, it's definitely an up-and-coming hobby. So I think more will be popping up. But anyway, just look online for any ceramic studios. Once you find a studio that's somewhat near you, I would just send them an email just asking, hey, do you do any firings for people that aren't working in your studio? Ask them for their rate or for anything like that, and then they'll get back to you. Usually all of them that I've encountered are very kind, and they'll try to squeeze you in at the nearest time that they can do it. But at the same time, you do not need a kiln at your house to be able to do this hobby. There are definitely going to be other options for you. I think if you had access to a school, that would be preferred. So if you are in middle school, high school, college, and you have a kiln that's at your school, definitely talk to your teacher or whoever's in charge of that. Maybe you can work something out with that. It obviously just gets tricky if you don't have any studios near you or you don't have any schools near you that have a kiln. Then there's got to be some forums or something out there that you can ask around, like who's near you, if anyone has a kiln that you can fire in. If you're just making a couple little products, you should be totally fine. If you're making mass production of items, that's where it gets a little bit trickier. If you're interested in starting in pottery, but you don't have any classes that you can take through your school or any open studios near you, what I would just recommend is search on YouTube. I think YouTube is one of the greatest tools ever invented for just like little mini things that you need solved in your life. Just look up wheel throwing beginner or hand building techniques. I'm going to be making some videos in the future for intro ceramics learners. Obviously books are great if people still go to the library. I mean, that's kind of a dying trend right now, but at the same time, like, just use your resources, check everything out that you can online, and you'll definitely find some really good stuff out there. I was really fortunate to have some great professors, so that obviously helps me excel a bit faster, I think, since you can ask those questions in person. But at the end of the day, this is really a hobby that's about trial and error. It's just about trying things out, seeing what's working for you, seeing what doesn't work for you, and then repeating it another time to try it again to make it more successful each time. Another thing that I think people overthink in starting in pottery is that they need all these tools. This is really all you need. You got 10 tools right here available. I'm personally someone who doesn't usually use tools very much. I just use my fingers, like the sides, for scraping, or on the wheel. You need a couple tools for sure, and I'll get into that in a second. But what I'm trying to get at is don't overthink the tool part. Just buy like a beginner toolkit online and you'll be fine. Your main tools that you need: a pin needle tool, a brush for glazing. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what this is called. A sponge is always helpful. A trimming tool. And lastly, my favorite tool, a fork. I mean, you can use a scoring tool or anything that has a few different Oh, and then it's also good to have a wire for cutting your clay when it comes in the packages. Almost all those tools I just use when I'm throwing on the wheel. The only tool I use every time I'm building something is this fork. I like to score everything. If you don't know what scoring means, we'll get into that on another video. Obviously there's so many more tools out there that you can use, but I really think it's important to just focus on the project you're making rather than the tools that you have to make it. It's also important to remember that everything that you're making in ceramics will dry if you leave it out in the open air. So everything I use I have bagged up, just so in that way it's like tightly together, and that way there's no like extra air around the project helping dry it out faster. So once you've made your product, it's dried out, you've put it through the kiln once, it is now entering its bisqueware stage. So it is rock solid, and you need to glaze it. When you are doing any glazes, you have a couple options as well. You've got an underglaze, you've got a regular glaze. This one has like little crystal beads in it, and you also can use mason stains. These, I always add this powder to another glaze to make the color I want to make. So you have a few different options, and there's definitely more options than just this. These are just the main three that I use. I prefer to go with just a regular glaze. Keep it simple, or do the mason stain. When you're just getting started, I would just focus on hand building. Build those components of understanding how the clay feels on your fingers, and also understanding like how far you can push it before it starts to bow out. I think it's really beneficial to start with hand building. I've basically been doing hand building for 12 years throughout my elementary, middle school, and high school years. But as soon as I got to college, my first class that I took there was a wheel class, and that totally transformed my understanding for ceramics too. So Always look for wheel classes if they're through your school or if they're through a studio nearby. They're great options to understanding ceramics a lot more. The only thing with learning the wheel, it's going to take you a few weeks. Like, don't go in expecting on day 1 or 2 you're going to have this beautiful big vessel that you just created. It took me a long time to even get something like this tall that wasn't wobbly. Uh, just know, like, it's definitely a potential for you to learn, but hand building is an easier place to start, and then when you have more resources, you can move on to the wheel. But if you've got resources to do the wheel, do it. Like, it's amazing, it's fun. So there's just like a million things I could talk about, but at the same time, when you're getting started in ceramics, you don't need to overthink it. Like, you really just want to start creating things. Even if you don't have a kiln and you just want to buy clay and make things, even if you can't fire it and you just need to destroy it and turn it back into clay and just create a new thing with that clay that you just used, I think that's totally fine. Definitely don't beat yourself up if you don't have access to that kiln. So just try your best. Buy the air dry clay if you don't have that kiln maybe, and then buy the real clay when you do finally know where the kiln access is. If you have any more intricate type questions about pottery or anything to do with ceramics at all, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll try my best at answering those questions for you. My degree is in art education, so I should be able to help you out. But at the same time, like I said, there's so much to learn in this art medium, and I will never stop learning new things, which always excites me. I know I was a little all over the place, so I apologize about that. But I hope you understand that there's just a lot of components to this medium, and you can start really wherever you want. There's just a lot of places that you need to keep building if you're going to make this a long-term hobby for you. Yeah, if you have any other questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll answer them when I can. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you another time.